Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And we're getting a lot of attention this week in the national media, and it's not for good reasons. It's because we have the state reps that have fled to avoid the vote on redistricting. And so now we're not in the news for doing something cool, for winning a Super Bowl or sending a rocket to space or having the best economy or something cool like that. It's very nerdy here. However, some updates in that situation because they still haven't come back. They were adjourned until tomorrow anyway, so we'll find out something more tomorrow. In the meantime, John Cornyn had sent a letter to the FBI saying, "Hey, can you get on this for me?" And they responded with something like "yes today." It's all kind of vague. I was reading through the letter, and it doesn't seem like anything official. It's just he put a request in writing. Here's CBS News somewhat covering it.
All right, changing gears to the latest on the political standoff in Texas. The state's attorney general is now investigating a political action committee run by Democrat Beto O'Rourke. It's called Powered by People. AG Ken Paxton says it is illegally paying for lawmakers to leave the state to derail a vote on a Republican redistricting plan.
What? Now I'm interested. So Beto has some sort of political action committee where he's been funding them fleeing. Is that bribery? I remember somebody saying in some reports at some point that helping these people could be akin to bribery. Now, am I all clutching my pearls like, oh, Beto O'Rourke's evil and needs to be put in prison? No, but it would be nice to see them get tripped up on some goofy technicality. You know, who cares? Beto's a rich kid. He wants to pay for their hotel rooms or their flights or whatever. I don't think that's a big, it's not that unjust that he's doing that. The unjust part is they should probably be arrested when they come home, but at least lose their seats. Now, here's where it's going to get frustrating for you. Sorry to bring you the second part of the report. Nothing's going to happen to these people. What happened last time they did it? They got fined. What's the max fine they're facing now? $8,000? Ooh, Beto will just swoop in and pay for that. And if he wants to get charged with some crime, what's he going to get fined for it? Ooh. But this is Brian Harrison. He was also on CBS News last night. Yeah, Brian, our neighbor over in Midlothian, making a very sobering point about the lack of accountability for people who flee.
Not one Democrat has been stripped of their seniority, their committee assignments, their budgets, their staff. Hell, we haven't even taken away their parking spots yet. So no, I continue to call on the leadership, the Republican leadership in the state of Texas, to do what the voters of Texas want. In addition to the redistricting, they want more than just bold rhetoric. They want bold action.
Well, we do have the rhetoric, though. I mean, at least we have. It'd be worse if we didn't at least have rhetoric, right? But if you want to go read what's in this letter, he says, I'm prepared to do everything. This is Paxton responding to it. Hang on, let me go to. I accidentally scrolled down. Yes, here it is. Specifically, I am concerned that legislators who solicited or accepted funds to aid in their efforts to avoid their legislative duties may be guilty of bribery or other public corruption offenses. Okay. Now I'm interested, but the follow-up is going to be key here. Is anybody going to be arrested? If they're breaking laws, why not arrest them now? If they're breaking laws and you know where they're at because they're doing press conferences, go throw some handcuffs on them. Or hush. Don't just throw around rhetoric like you're all tough guys and you're going to hold these people to account and then you don't do anything. Now you're complicit. You're not like one of the active bad guys. You're one of the passive bad guys. You're still a bad guy. If you mean what you say, go arrest them. Don't write a letter to the FBI. Go arrest them. Get them arrested. At least take away their seat. And as Brian Harrison very wittingly pointed out, at least take away their parking spot. Something. So I like the sound of this. I like the content of the rhetoric. I like what they're saying. I recognize Cornyn is seen as one of the great rhinos of all time. So, we don't put a whole lot of stock in his political opinions. But in this one, hey, if they're guilty of bribery or public corruption offenses, why don't you ask a lawyer real quick, confirm or disconfirm that, and then rewrite this press release because you're just throwing out the vague language. Are they doing something illegal? Then go arrest them. If not, then don't even mention it. John Cornyn's running for a fifth 6-year term for his Senate seat, facing a primary challenge right now by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Now to Ken Paxton's response to the release. He said, I'm prepared to do everything in my power to hold them accountable because these liberal lawmakers are not above the law. It's imperative they be swiftly arrested, punished, and face the full force of the law for turning their backs on the people of Texas. That's good. I agree with that. That sounds good. Now go do it. Because I'm skeptical because it's never happened before. I'm skeptical because I've sat in a seat talking into a microphone to all my neighbors here in North Texas when this has happened before. Makes very, bombastic statements. They should all be arrested and thrown in prison. And I look like a fool when they didn't even lose their parking spot. What did they get fined? $8,000? Ooh. That won't even get you a Honda Civic these days. So, again, this is the duality of James on this topic. I like what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. But are you going to actually arrest them and charge them with bribery or some other public corruption charge? I hope you do. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express on John Cornyn calling up the FBI and this high-speed rail fantasy that just won't go away. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Texas, again, is the talk of the national news media today as our redistricting fight has everyone's attention because our number one, our representatives that fled have gone to many different states and they all start holding press conferences. So that's going to help this get the attention of the national news. On top of that, the other states that are kind of jealous of what we're doing over here are swearing that they're going to do the same thing in their states if we're allowed to do this here. So, in the middle of all this attention, John Cornyn, one of your two Texas senators, has asked the FBI to jump in and look into arresting these guys and charge them with the crime. Sounds tough. Is it actually going to happen? I'm skeptical. Let's ask my next guest, Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express, dallasexpress.com. Welcome back, Chris. Okay, so what do you think? Are these people going to be arrested? They never have been arrested in the past. You sound like 100% positive this is going to happen. Well, let me throw out why I'm skeptical. Didn't Burrows, the Speaker of the House, put a guy that's historically a Democrat in charge of the redistricting committee? Well, John Cornyn, we're talking with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express. John Cornyn's seen as one of the rhinos. Do we really care what he thinks? All right. Well, Chris Putnam, is anything going to happen to the representatives that fled the state to avoid the vote? Isn't that disappointing? That's so disappointing. They should lose their seats. Why you have a political brain. Let explain this to people who don't have a political brain, because to me this sounds like if the Cowboys started their season and they walked out there on the field to take the first snap and Dak Prescott just like walked off the field. It's like, no, I'm not going to take the snap. Would All right. Another thing that concerns me, Chris Putnam, I have seen multiple media outlets in the last week are back on this idea of high speed rail. How does this keep getting brought back up? Who's bringing this up, and why won't this terrible idea go away? Right. But I hope it never happens. All right, there he is. Chris Putnam, Dallas Express. Check out his newspaper, dallasexpress.com. Thank you very much, Chris. All right, and we'll talk about that next. The high speed rail fantasy that won't ever die. And man, I wish it would. 800 288 9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. It's the nightmare that won't go away. It's Freddy Krueger that just keeps showing up in your dreams. You're living a peaceful life, just trying to enjoy things and get by, and then all of a sudden it pops back up out of nowhere. It's like the golf cart from Ernest Goes to Camp. Every once in a while, you're just minding your own business, and along comes through this discussion that, I mean, we keep winning it, but I guess it's not going to die. From WFAA this morning, this was about 8 hours ago, great report here on the renewed discussions over a high-speed rail train between Dallas and Houston.
On the left and the Houston skyline on the right as an effort to connect the two cities with a high-speed rail. Boy, this conversation just won't go away.
Yeah, Natalie Haddad live outside Dallas City Hall, and leaders are set to take up the controversial project that has been stalled for years. It seems like the faster the train wants to go, the slower it is moving.
Right.
I see what you did there, Mark. Yeah, this conversation, or rather the high-speed rail, has been stalled for years, a decade to be exact, but it's still a hot topic and it is getting new attention today with transportation leaders set to hear an update later this afternoon. Here's a little background on all of it, though I'm sure many of us are familiar with it at this point. The North Central Texas Council of Governments are going to present a review of an alternative route for the project at today's Regional Transportation Council meeting. Yeah, that's a lot of words, but really what's going on here is that a previous plan to run the train near Reunion Tower here in Dallas was drawing criticism. It raised questions about whether it would help or hurt the city of Dallas. So today we're going to see new maps and alternatives for this high-speed rail train, at least in the Dallas area. Now, the bullet train has faced strong opposition from lawmakers, from landowners, and even Hunt Consolidated. That's the powerful private group run by the Hunt family, very popular here in Dallas. Now, but on the other side of all of this, a study commissioned by the city of Dallas found that the train could actually boost the local economy by more than $5 billion a year. So Texas Central, the developer behind the Dallas-Houston high-speed rail, is still pushing forward, pointing to Texas's pro-business climate. Now, this meeting where we're going to see the new alternatives for where this maybe one-day rail could be, at least in the Dallas area, is scheduled for 1 p.m. We will know plenty more details after that. Kara?
All right, so that meeting just started a little over an hour ago. And that's why I'm bringing this up. I'm not just bringing this up out of the blue. This is such a terrible idea. Why won't this go away? What is the love affair with trains? Of all the projects and all the things you could make government do, why is some segment of the political sphere just so in love with trains? Why? It's technology that has been obsolete for 100 years as far as passengers go. Still has freight usage. You don't have to subsidize that. Nobody wants to take a train from Dallas to Houston. Every time you give us these terrible ideas, they all turn out to be lies. We can see what the train just within Dallas did. It's such a huge, embarrassing failure. Why is your idea to make this embarrassing failure go 280 miles to Houston? In 1983, when the voters here in North Texas voted to pass DART into being, the promise was it would only be 25 to 35 employees by now. It's 3,800 employees. The promise was 50% of the operating costs will be covered by the fare box. The fares that DART takes in covers less than 10%, not of their operating cost, less than 10% of just the salaries. So think about that. That's what a money loser is, DART, just constantly. When it was passed in 1983, the promise from DART was that by the year 2010, there would be 147 miles of rail. It's 2025 and there's 93. They had an extra 15 years and they still fell short. It was promised at the time that DART would never borrow money. They wouldn't be allowed to. It's written into the charter. It's written into the rules. They now owe, or you now owe on their behalf, $3.8 billion. That's with a B. This is a city. This isn't a country. This is a city. This is a metropolitan area. This is what a noose, this is what a millstone around your neck DART has been. If you wonder why your taxes are so high, if you wonder why if you just drive 2 hours in any direction, all of a sudden the affordability and the price of living is much more reasonable. This is why. You don't have to live like this. It was also said that DART would never get federal government subsidies except for, the use of buses and maybe HOV lanes, but they're getting that all hand over fist. And of course, you were promised X amount of ridership. You were promised reduced traffic congestion. Does that ever happen? No, it never happens. It always costs a ton more. And even in this project, where it was only proposed 12 years ago, the initial cost that everyone went to the ballot box and approved and everyone was clapping their hands over, and that was a $10 billion project. As it stands right now, they're saying it's going to take $41 billion to build this. So the costs have already quadrupled, and we haven't even started. And we're just throwing money away around here too. There's the Dallas City Council appropriated $2 million to study where to build the station downtown. Here, I'll do it for much cheaper. Just give me $1 million and I'll tell you, don't build it. Best advice you could get. 800-288-9227. This is Elizabeth and Electra. You're on WBAP. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey, how are you? I got kind of out of the box kind of thought, or more like I'm just trying to figure stuff out, because given what I heard just sitting here listening to everything, on top of everything I kind of wonder about, it just sounds like what that guy earlier said. It sounds like a way to rob the taxpayers, but also you got to think about the landowners and the ranchers who raise food that we eat. What's going to happen to that land? And then the other thing, and here's my main thought is why are we going to be paying for something that's going from Houston to Dallas? And I don't know if you're aware of it, but I have read somewheres or heard that they wanted to go from Dallas to Colorado as well. And so
their fantasies know no bounds. They would like to have high speed rail everywhere. They want everyone in trains. Well, they want you in trains. The rich snobs that are making these decisions, they're not going to be in the trains. It's just going to be you and the common folk. That would clear up the roads for them. For the people that can still drive. We'll push the common people. We'll put them in tiny houses, and maybe we'll put them on a bicycle or maybe a scooter, or maybe just make them ride a train. But they're not going to do that.
Right, but how about Antifa and MS-13? We know, and illegals. We know all three of these cities that we're talking about, somewhere in Colorado, Dallas, and Houston. They're all sanctuary cities for illegals. They've all had feds there to get MS-13 and Antifa and all the other terrorist groups. So what are we going to do? What are we going to be subsidizing if we actually give the go-ahead to this?
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong. My list of concerns when it comes to high-speed rail, Antifa and MS-13 aren't in the top 10 or top 20. That's pretty low price. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm more worried about the $40 billion that they're saying it's going to cost now. I'm more worried about the $300 billion that they're saying they're going to spend in California. I'm more worried about the $3.8 billion in debt that DART's already given us. And that's just connecting Dallas to Plano. 800-288-9227. More calls on the high-speed rail boondoggle coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. The high-speed rail terrible idea from Dallas to Houston has returned. There's a meeting about it with the whatever council of nerds who like to waste taxpayer money. It started right before the James Show did, and they're deciding whether or not that they're going to go ahead with $40 billion worth of spending on a choo-choo train, a passenger train from Dallas to Houston. And one of the follies of most of these train stories, whether it's dark trains here locally or high-speed rail that goes between metropolitan areas, is it always seems to be predicated on you start at the train station and your destination is at the train station. But, we have two of the largest cities in the country, Dallas and Houston. If you're going to go to the train station, you're going to live not at the train station. Where are you going to live? Garland? You're going to live in Frisco? Where's the train station going to be? It's going to be downtown. What if you live in like Keller? What if you live in Burleson? What if you got to come up from Mansfield? So it's going to be a good 40 minutes to get to the station. If it's a high traffic time, give yourself an hour. So then you got to find parking, pay for parking, arrange for parking. Your car is going to be down in a terrible place downtown, subject to whatever could happen to it. Similar to what happens when you go to the airport, but maybe a little cheaper. And then when you get off the train, are you going to be at your destination? Are you going to be in downtown Houston? Is that where you want to go? Or you want to go to the Woodlands or Pearland or the Heights or the Galleria or over in Montrose? So what do you got to do? Rent a car, Uber everywhere, have someone pick you up, meet you there, have a car stashed. So, you got to add another 90 minutes or so, or 30 to 60 minutes or so for dealing with that on the other side. And then there's also the big pain in the butt. It assumes you have no real luggage. You don't have briefcases to carry around or shopping bags to bring with you in either direction. It also assumes that you want to sit there and listen to strangers chat and smell their breath and listen to their TikTok videos because they're not wearing earbuds. It's a trip, man. I rode the train a few times, and granted, this was 25 years ago, but I did have a regular job downtown where we would stop at the Mockingbird station just to take the train downtown. And I get it, but financially speaking, boy, that was really expensive for the taxpayer, so I could have the moderate convenience. I mean, we had a car. How else do you get to the train station without a car? But the fallacy I'm talking about is called the last mile fallacy, and it's where all the benefits of high-speed rail and so many of these public transportation projects just fall apart. That last mile. How do you get me to where I'm going? What if I was going to a theater that's 4 miles away? That's not a big deal if you're in a car. That's insurmountable if you're on foot. 800-288-9227. This is Katie in Dallas. You're on WBAP.
Hey there. You're talking about how much it's costing Dallas, but you haven't mentioned the depreciation of home values that are actually near these these railroad tracks too. I happen to live next to the silver dart that they're putting up, and it's basically I stare at a wall and then hear a train roll through Monday through Friday from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. where they're testing it all day long, blaring their horn just constantly. It is aggravating, and knowing that the property value has now depreciated by at least 15% is crazy.
Oh, that's terrible for you. Now,
yeah,
they haven't actually started running passengers on there, have they? Or
No, they've been testing it. So it's Monday through Friday. It's not going right now. I actually came outside to see if you could hear one.
That'd be great.
Monday through Friday. It starts around 8 a.m. and it goes until about 3. But you'll hear them, and then they'll start. They actually battle for some reason to see who can blare their horn the loudest. It's terrible. It's awful.
So,
I'm staring at a wall that looks like it's a border crossing.
So I work next to the big rail line downtown, and one thing that drives me nuts is how empty the trains are. They're almost always empty, and I don't 99% empty. There may be a bum or one or two people here, but a lot of them are genuinely empty. Now, Katie, when are they going to start running passengers on there? Because I want you to start watching that train as it disrupts your day, and I want you to take note and call back on the show and tell me how empty they are, because that drives me insane.
I've heard that they'll start running them in December. That's what they're saying. But I already have trauma from hearing it coming every 30 minutes when they're really when they're testing them.
Oh, you get used to that. I hate to say that. I know it's a lower standard of living. You're just going to have to grit your teeth and bear it. You live on the wrong side of the tracks now. Pun totally intended.
Who knew?
Yeah,
Who
well,
knew
now
that
you
when I
do.
bought a condo, they would build a train,
Katie,
20 feet away.
report back on me, and it's going to drive you nuts because it feels like you're in the Truman Show. It's like, why are we even running this thing if they're all going to be empty? We're just doing this all for show. Who is this for?
Yeah.
Am I Truman? Katie? Are you
Exactly.
Truman?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just awful.
All right.
So, yeah,
Report back to me,
there you
Katie.
go.
Good report. Now, coming up next on the James Show, did you know The Simpsons predicted this? The amazing television show that has made so many predictions, including Trump being president. And I think the daughter, Ivana, is going to be president in 2028 or something like that. Wasn't there a prediction there? But they predicted the hype over this high-speed rail in an episode that was written by Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien. Yeah, that Conan O'Brien. This was in 1993, before you knew him as the Conan O'Brien he is now. He wrote an episode of The Simpsons called The Monorail. And Phil Hartman is the guest voice that sells the idea of monorail, a high-speed light rail, passenger rail service to Springfield. I'm going to play you a 3-minute clip of that, and it's just going to blow your mind. From 1993, The Simpsons predicted what we're talking about in Texas right now. That's next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And the Texas High-Speed Rail Commission or whatever group of governors or board planners or surface infrastructure committee, whatever, they're having a meeting today, right now, during the James Show, about going forward with plans to build a high-speed rail that nobody wants between Dallas and Houston. They started out saying it's going to cost $10 billion. Now it's up to $40 billion. And I say we just need to cut all this off now. Now, the thing is, the siren song of high-speed rail and passenger trains have already intoxicated North Texas with a bunch of terrible ideas that cost us a ton of money and given us $3.8 billion in debt. Thank you very much, DART. And they're all failures, whether it's the train from Fort Worth to Norman, whether it's the Trinity Railway, whether it's the new Silver Line before it even starts. I'm going to guarantee you that one's not going to be a money winner either. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of these bad ideas succeeding. And you see other cities falling for this. You know, you see Houston doing it. You see Atlanta doing it, Kansas City, of course, Los Angeles. And boy, they just love stuff like that over there. But it was really distilled down perfectly. If you go back in time by The Simpsons, let's go back to 1993. We're only on season 4. There's an episode called Marge versus the Monorail. And in it, I'm going to play you this when the town gets sold on the pitch of building passenger rail. Phil Hartman does the guest voice. You'll recognize him right off the bat. And they're in a town meeting to decide to do with this big pile of money they got from a settlement. I think Monty Burns was like dumping toxic waste into the lake or Lake Springfield or something. But they had a big pile of money, and Phil Hartman comes and swindles them and sells them on this terrible idea of passenger rail. And this is in 1993. A couple things you need to remember. This is now 30 years ago. I don't know if you realize how old we are. This is a 32-year-old episode that still rings true today. And also, it was written by Conan O'Brien. Yeah, that Conan O'Brien. It was before he was doing the show that you know him for. This was one of his gigs. This is The Simpsons Monorail song.
You know, a town with money's a little like the mule with a spinning wheel. No one knows how he got it, and danged if he knows how to use it.
Mule.
The name's Lanley, Lyle Lanley. And I come before you good people tonight with an idea. Probably the greatest... Oh, it's not for you. It's more of a Shelbyville idea.
Now, wait just a minute. We're twice as smart as the people of Shelbyville. Just tell us your idea and we'll vote for it.
All right.
They've got high-speed rail in Europe. How come we can't have it? They have it, and I went to Chicago, and how come we can't have it? They have it.
I tell you what I'll do. I'll show you my idea. I give you the Springfield Monorail. I've sold monorails to Brockway, Ogdenville, and North Haverbrook, and by gum, it put them on the map. Well, sir, there's nothing on earth like a genuine, bona fide, electrified 6-car monorail. What I say?
Monorail.
What's it called?
Monorail.
That's right, monorail.
I hear those things are awfully loud.
It glides as softly as a cloud.
Is there a chance the track could bend?
Not on your life, my Hindu friend.
What about us Brendan slobs?
You'll be given cushy jobs.
Were you sent here by the devil?
No, good sir, I'm on the level.
The ring came off my pudding can.
Take my penknife, my good man. I swear it's Springfield's only choice. Throw up your hands and raise your voice.
Monorail.
What's it called?
Monorail.
Once again.
But Main Street's still all cracked and broken. Sorry, Mom. The mob has spoken. Monorail. 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 Monorail.
Mono. Don't.
So there it is from 1993, the wisdom of our forefathers through the beautiful vehicle of The Simpsons. Isn't that what we're doing now? Isn't that exactly what we're doing? Oh, well, so-and-so has one. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. It means they also fell for this guy's slick plans. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, coming up next on the James Show, I have an esteemed guest, EJ Antoni. You've heard him on the James Show a few times before. He's from the Heritage Foundation and he has quite a resume before that. But he's also in the talks to maybe be the next Federal Reserve chairman after Jerome Powell is done. E.J. Antoni. So I'm going to ask him about that. I was going to have him on to talk about Trump's tariffs. Some new ones went into effect this month. Some of it is going to affect your drug cost if all of the things remain the same. But it just so happened after we booked him, the rumor came out and his face was thrown up on MSNBC. And I was like, uh-oh, are we in trouble? They're talking about E.J. Antoni on MSNBC. But after that, I want to ask you something about these state representatives that have fled and have gone to Chicago and Massachusetts and wherever the heck else. I've been calling them redistricting dodgers, thinking that, hey, that's clever. Maybe it'll catch on. Well, it's not catching on. I failed. Joe on X says they should be called stray dog Democrats. Now, I think Joe on X may have a better idea than redistricting dodgers. But I want to hear from you. What should we call? We need to give them a nickname. Nicknames work. Nicknames are effective, and nicknames are fun too. So you're going to hear my new AI producer. We embrace technology here on the James Show. My AI is called Good Garrett. And we're going to ask my AI producer to come up with some fun nicknames for the state reps that played Texas. But I'm asking you to nominate some too, because as soon as we get done with E.J. Antoni next and ask him about the scuttlebutt of the Federal Reserve, I want to hear your ideas for nicknames on the Democrats who fled the state. You can call in. You can send me an email, jameswbap.com, Facebook message, whatever you want to do. But I'm giving you a few minutes to come up with that. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, homeowners. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. I love doing spots for Blue Ribbon Roofing because I know these guys and I know they're a good company. I've actually worked with them. I now know John, Tish, and Trevor. I've hung out with them on multiple occasions. Yes, they would recognize me if I walked in the room. But I also feel good about helping put them with customers because I read all these reviews. And I see that people who have heard about it on the James Show already will get good service, a great experience with Blue Ribbon Roofing. Then they'll come back and they'll put the proof on Google. And I love reading it. I love reading that so that they didn't leave a mess. I love reading that it was all finished in one day. I love reading that John helped you refile your claim with the insurance himself and got you the money that you were supposed to get, but the insurance company was jerking your chain. So if you're ready for a good roofing experience, if you want to find out if you even have a problem with your roof, call right now. Get the free roof inspection scheduled today. Go to blueribbondfw.com. Mention you heard it on the James Show. You get a free ridge vent ventilation upgrade. And in a week or two, I want to see your 5-star review on Google as well. Go to blueribbondfw.com. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Coming back on the James Show, EJ Antoni was with the Heritage Foundation, Unleash Prosperity, and I see him on Fox Business all the time. Welcome back, EJ. All right, so we're going to wind back the clock here because I remember talking to you around the Federal Reserve meeting in March where they left rates unchanged, but I'm going to play a clip of you on Fox Business. This was back on March 20th of this year. And you were taking a political angle on why you thought that they left the rates unchanged. And we'll see how it matches up with how you feel about the Fed doing the same thing this week. But here's the flashback.
Certainly, Ashley, but let's not expect any help from the Fed here. You know, a lot of people are saying, should the Fed cut rates today? Should they keep them the same? I mean, the Fed already cut rates. They did it last fall to try to get their preferred candidate across the finish line. I'm sorry, but that was just blatant election interference. And then after that happened, the annual inflation rate started to tick back up and commodity prices soared. And now we're having a discussion today about how tariffs that haven't even been implemented yet have somehow been causing prices to rise for the last several months. I mean, what are the clowns at the Fed thinking at this point?
That's awesome. All right, so I just wanted to give you a little love there and give you a chance to. Is this how you feel about the Fed leaving the rates the same again?
Is that something we should worry about, or is that just panic?
Well, let's talk about the chairman there, Jerome Powell. His term's going to be up what, next year? Okay, so when the president talks about firing him, I don't even think he really has the power to do that. I guess he could just lean on him so hard and make him miserable that he would resign. But the president can't fire a Federal Reserve chair, can he? Well, that's a broad brush, right? Well, how did he get in that seat to begin with? Because Donald Trump nominated him, and this is not what anyone expected when he got in the seat. Oh, definitely not. All right, we're talking with EJ Antoni from the Heritage Foundation, America's biggest conservative think tank, depending on your definition of biggest. What about the rumors I've seen? EJ Antoni might be the next Fed Reserve Chair. Okay, well, this isn't coming out of nowhere. I saw your head on MSNBC, and when I say your head, it was like cut out, like a GIF with transparency around it. It's just your floating head, and they had you up on the screen while there was a caption about like who's the next Jerome Powell or who's after Jerome Powell, and so you were in the discussion on the TV. Okay. Well, maybe I'm just getting the captions mixed up. But I did see your head floating on MSNBC, and I'm like, I'm going to ask him about that next time he's on. So, Bureau of Labor Statistics, when they say that the numbers were off in like a previous month by like a standard deviation of 5, what does that mean to non-economists? All right, EJ Antoni, look for your floating head on MSNBC. And how do they find your work online? Thank you very much. Coming up next on the James Show, Dr. Donald Trump is speaking with reporters. We have it on pause. I'll listen to that. If it's anything of interest to you, we'll play that as soon as we get back. But if not, then we'll return to what we're going to talk about with the nickname. My new AI producer called Good Garrett has come up with some fun nicknames for the state reps that fled Texas on the redistricting vote. That's next on the James Show. 800-288-9227. If you want to add your nickname, go ahead and call it in. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So Donald Trump was in the Oval Office. He had a whole bunch of charts, and they were giant charts, and it was on foam core boards that looked like the backing of the science fair project that you did in 8th grade, without it folded in. He had charts. He had a couple of bar charts, had a line graph on there, and he was going through the numbers, talking about mostly the economy and stuff. When it was time to take questions, all of them were about Russia. There wasn't any questions about Texas. I was kind of disappointed. That's kind of what I was listening for because, I'm a Texan who just likes to dig in his own belly button because I think we're the coolest things in the world. But no, all the questions were about Russia, and I guess rightfully so. I mean, the brink of World War III kind of is a big story. And he's throwing out some numbers there because Caitlin Collins asked about a deadline that he had said like 12 days ago that he's got 13 days or something to that effect. But the deadline is tomorrow-ish for Putin to come to an agreement on a ceasefire, and there hasn't been a whole lot of news on that, so I think no news is bad news. But I thought you'd be interested in this about 1.5 minute response on the last question. All right, that's it. That was the end of it. But yeah, I thought you'd find that interesting. And that is a big topic considering a couple of things. Number one, that the deadline for a ceasefire for Russia tomorrow, I guess that'll be big news tomorrow. Let's put that in the promo, Garrett. Russia talk tomorrow. And this also dovetails in with one of the headlines that I've just been getting swamped with great audio clips on what's going on with Russia from the old collusion hoax of 2016. And, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski just had a big old fit this morning about how this new evidence in the Russia collusion hoax itself is planted by the Russians. And I don't know, it's just so confounding to see Russia be so rolled up into all of our business when actually none of this is our business. They didn't do anything in the 2016 election, but here it is. That was the top story for 2017, 2018, 2019, and would have been for 2020 if not for COVID. The idea that Russia had colluded with Trump to steal our election. Now that collusion theory has been flipped on its head, and it's the other side of that election, Hillary Clinton and her camp, and maybe even Obama and some of the other people in the administration at the time were actually colluding to steal the election from Trump, not Trump stealing it from them. And so we're talking all this Russia stuff. At the same time, they're in a war with Ukraine, and somehow that's our business too. How are we this intertwined with Russia without actually being intertwined with Russia? All right, I asked for nicknames for the Democrat state representatives that have fled Texas to avoid the vote on the redistricting maps for their congressional districts. I've been calling them the redistricting Dodgers, which I like because it feels a little alliterative, the de-redistricting Dodgers. Also, it kind of sounds like it could be a sports team, so that's kind of cool. Joe on X said stray dog Democrats. I like that because there's the blue dog Democrats and the yellow dog Democrats, and he has the stray dog Democrats. So I don't know. I think Joe's idea is better than mine. But since my actual human producer, Garrett, is pretty worthless, I got a new AI producer. We call him Good Garrett because we like him. And I asked him to come up with comedic nicknames for the state reps that fled Texas. And he actually gave me some great nicknames. Some of them are okay. But here it is. This is the nicknames for the stray dog Democrats, as Joe on X has named them. The Quorum Dodgers. That's good. So look, I did redistricting Dodgers. The Quorum Dodgers. Sounds like it could be a minor league baseball team, wherever Quorum is. I don't know. Where's Quorum? Feels like a Oregon town. The Lone Star Leavers. That's pretty good. Good, Garrett. The Blue State Bandits. Maybe. I like this one. The Plain Jane Caucus, except plain is spelled Plane. See what they did there? The Plain Caucus, like an airplane caucus. The Chicago Fly-Ins, the Gerrymander Evaders, the Runaway Legislators, the Flea Party. That one strikes me as one of the better ones, too, the Flea Party. The Absentee Avengers, the Capitol Flight Crew, Capitol with OL. The Map Escape Artists, the Austin Avoiders. All right. Honorable mention for that one, too. That's a good one. The Filibuster Fugitives, the Vote Vacationers, the Civic Slackers, the Mileage Club. I don't even know what that means. Good, Garrett. The Hotel Caucus, the Relay Race Representatives, the Great Texas Takeoff. Ooh, I like that one. I like that one, too. And then the Quorum Breakers. He started with the Quorum Dodgers, left with the Quorum Breakers. But all in all, give yourself 14 points, good Garrett. Can you? Bad Garrett, old Garrett, human Garrett. Can you give good Garrett 14 points? That's 2 touchdowns right there. That's 20 nicknames that my new AI producer came up with. How many did you come up with, old Garrett? Human Garrett? Fallible Garrett? Coming up next on the James Show, you're going to hear from an immigration attorney, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, who is quite sympathetic to the cause of illegal immigrants. I'm going to ask her, how would she upgrade Alligator Alcatraz up to her standards of what she considers suitable for a detention center? 800-288-9227. You know that's going to be fun. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. I have a feeling that I'm going to be getting some of these nicknames floating in overnight tonight, and we may have to do this again on tomorrow's show. But I was just testing out my new artificial intelligence producer. We call him Good Garrett because he comes up with great ideas all the time, and I just love him to death. Good Garrett. But I asked him to give me some nicknames for the state representatives that fled the state to avoid the vote on the redistricting map. And so I was just asking you if you wanted to add to that. A couple of people called in. Some people dropped an email. I think Derek did a good job here because neither I nor Good Garrett came up with some of these. The one I like the most is Quorum Quacks. I don't know why. Quacks always fits well into the political space because it's such an obviously comedic word. So, if you're talking about someone who's a professional, like a doctor or a lawyer or a politician, and you call them a quack, that's a fun, almost childlike way to sort of reduce what they do into something wacky. Also, the filibuster flubs gets an honorable mention from Derek. I really appreciate that. Lawrence had sent in the no-show demos. I like that one too. No-show demos. See, that's not alliteration. That's where you see the same consonant sound at the beginning of a word repeatedly. Peter Pepper picked a peck of pickled peppers. This is a repeated vowel sound. So what would that be? No show demos. That's called assonance. One of my favorite words, assonance. So there's your English language report for the day. So if you want to get in nickname, james@wbap.com. You can also float them in on the fake Facebook Messenger app where I was getting some there. But it really helps if you would listen to the show and not repeat the ones that we've already said. Because I feel like some people are trying to take away from the glory and the goodwill of Good Garrett, the AI producer. And he's very sensitive for an artificial intelligence. Gary sent this one in. The Texas Cooler, the Texas Tank, the Lone Star Stockade, the Lone Star Lockup, Texas Bullpen, Lone Star Stir, Texas Big House, and Texas Hold'em. Those are his nominations. All right. My next guest, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, is back on the James Show. She's an immigration attorney here in the great state of Texas. And Kate, you have expressed that you're not a big fan of alligator Alcatraz. I wanted to start with that and ask, how would you fix it up? How would you improve it and to where it would be up to your standards? But if you can't mix men and women, then you have to split up families. Oh, no. Yeah, that sounds kind of tough. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, immigration attorney here on the James Show. So if you have an exception for never wanting to put or detain a child, then all someone has to do is have a child with them when they're going through the process of illegal immigration so they can avoid being detained themselves. If I go visit Alligator Alcatraz, you want me to get you a t-shirt? I'm just having fun with you. Thank you very much for putting up with me. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, you're a great sport, and I appreciate you being on the James Show. How do they find your services outside of WBAP, ma'am? Kate Lincoln Goldfinch from Lincoln Goldfinch Law. Thanks again. All right, coming up next on the James Show, stick around. I have the Russian collusion hoax evidence. The claim is now that it was planted by Russia. The evidence of the hoax that Russia colluded to play. The claim is it was now. I know it's very circular. I'm going to try and explain it, and I'm going to do a horrible job of it next on the James Show because it doesn't make sense. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So good to see you. I was missing you so bad on the break. So the Russia collusion story was the top story in all of the land. This context is so important, how big this story was for 2017, 2018, 2019. More airtime, more column inches, more blogs, more resources were spent on this one story than any other story for 3 straight years. And it should be a huge story that was all fake. It should be a huge story that it just generated negative headlines, negative emotions, negative thoughts, negative every day. It just gave them something, some spear, some arrow, some tiny paper cut that they could throw at Donald Trump. So this would all add up. And after years and years and years of this, there's some people who hate him so much they're shooting at him. Well, we got Tulsi Gabbard digging through some of the old files and finding out that not only was it a hoax, but they knew it was a hoax. Okay, so now who knew what? When did they know it? Who approved it? Did they go get approval? What's the highest guy that had to have known about this? And so now they're trying to attach evidence to Hillary Clinton. They're trying to attach it to Barack Obama. They're trying to attach it to James Comey. And look, whether or not you think these people should go to jail, no one doubts that, or no one should doubt that there was a hoax. And I don't even think that people on MSNBC really doubt that there was somewhat of a hoax. You know, the people have already gotten in trouble. It's already gone to court that they fudged FISA documents to get a warrant to spy on Carter Page because he was in Trump's campaign circle. So when you have the evidence that actually shows something that's really hard to improve, knowledge and intent, well, that's going to be a big problem. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to say, well, yeah, it was a hoax, and yeah, all this other evidence we were wrong about and didn't really exist, but this evidence, this is actually a hoax. Really? I'll let you hear. I mean, it doesn't make sense when I try and explain it like that. But the alibi has now morphed into, this is why it's important to listen to the other side of the media. The evidence that the Russian hoax was an intentional conspiracy to rock Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, and then kind of morphed into, well, let's just saddle him with a Russia investigation for his first term. The evidence of intent is being called a Russian hoax. Okay, let's see.
And to this now, conspiracy theory.
If you don't recognize her voice, that's Mika Brzezinski from the MSNBC morning show, Morning Joe.
And to this now, conspiracy theorists have for years alleged Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign launched a plan to falsely accuse Donald Trump of collaborating with Russia. Now, newly declassified information reveals documents that were supposed to confirm
does that wording throw you off too? I know they have a different worldview and they state things different ways and they use different words. Like instead of calling them illegal aliens, they call them undocumented migrants or whatever. But did you hear what she just said? That there's been a years-long hoax to try and attach Hillary to colluding with Russia? For 3 years, the top story was the opposite. 2017, 2018, 2019 was that Russia colluded with Trump to thwart Hillary. Bizarre world that these people live in. Let me start
And
over.
to this now, conspiracy theorists have for years alleged Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign launched a plan to falsely accuse Donald Trump of collaborating with Russia. Now, newly declassified information reveals documents that were supposed to confirm those allegations were likely fake and created by Russian spy services. The material is part of a 29-page annex to a 2023 report by special counsel John Durham, who investigated the government's probe of Russia election interference and the Trump campaign. The New York Times reports, quote, the information reveals that a foundational document for that theory was most likely stitched together by Russian spies. The document is a purported email from July 27, 2016, that said Mrs. Clinton had approved a campaign proposal to tie Mr. Trump to Russia to distract from the scandal over her use of a private email server. As The Guardian points out, disclosures further undermine Tulsi Gabbard's claims of a widespread plot by Democrats against Donald Trump. Gabbard, who serves as director of national intelligence, recently accused Barack Obama and his national security team of orchestrating a slow motion coup in an effort to undercut the Republican candidate.
I am so tired of the Russian excuse. Every time something went wrong, Russia must have done it. It was a Russian plan. It was Russian evidence. Remember, they said Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacking the election to elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election.
Russia did hack the election.
So you see what's going on here is that lie that Russia hacked the election turned out to be a hoax, but the evidence to prove the hoax was a hack planted by the Russians. I feel like I'm in like a David Lynch movie, or like what was that Tom Cruise movie, Magnolia, or whatever, when you try and figure out what the heck's going on at the end and you're still not sure what the heck. What did I just watch? What, is this Mulholland Drive? What just happened? That was the same thing they said about the Hunter Biden laptop. Nope, that's not evidence of the president's son taking money from oligarchs in the world's worst second world countries and hookers and crack and guns and all kinds of illegal stuff. No. That also Russian plant.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
The vast majority of the intelligence.
All right, you know where that's going. Okay. Who believes this? Who really believes that? Yeah, the Russian spies came in and they didn't want to get our plans for a nuclear weapon. They didn't want to get our plans for AI. They didn't want to get our plans for, making the smallest silicon microchips, processors, or whatever technology. They wanted to plant a memo in the investigation into the Russia collusion probe. Yeah, that's the likely story. Good call, guys. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, Fort Worth is ending their DEI department, which that sounds like good news considering it's racist and sexist against me. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I mean, kind of good news, but I mean, it's just really the absence of bad news. Fort Worth is getting rid of its DEI program. I mean, that's good, but it shouldn't have existed in the first place. And so, it's really hard to celebrate this. Hey, they're not going to discriminate against you anymore, James, or other people who share the demographics of James. I don't know where you fit in this argument or in this discussion, but every program that's a DEI program discriminates against me. Every single one. And I found this to be a frustrating conversation to have with some people because they just turn their brains off. Well, what's racist? What policy do you have that puts me ahead of anybody else? What policy do you have that makes this place, whatever the gripe of the day is, a patriarchy or white supremacist or unfair or uninclusive of the letter people or whatever? And you never told a specific law. You're just told this ethereal concept of it's systemic. Oh, you mean systemic. Sounds like you mean microscopic, like it exists, but you just can't see it with the naked eye. Because I can go show you policies that existed that discriminated against me based on immutable characteristics. And you were okay with that. Not only that, you supported that. Not only that, you called it DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, which specifically excludes me. I'm surprised the vote was this close. It just happened in Fort Worth. The vote was 7-4 on the Fort Worth City Council. So 4 people are okay with this. 4 people are like, yes. Yeah, we will discriminate against James, basically. If you're white, if you're a male, if you're straight, if you're the Christian or whatever. Whatever angle they come up with on this intersectionality pie chart, I don't fit in any of them. And then they have the cojones, the giant coconut swinging between their legs to call themselves disenfranchised. Yeah, so we're just serving a disenfranchised community, a historically underserved community. That's absurd. Who's really disenfranchised? Who's really an underserved community? Wouldn't it be the demographic that doesn't have any scholarships, any safe spaces or, exclusive spaces on campuses, any conferences, any holidays? We don't get a week. We don't get a month. We don't get a day. We don't get a parade. There's no hiring programs for us. There's no job fairs that are just for us. There's no domestic violence shelters, no pride marches. No, none of that. But you're disenfranchised and I'm not. I'm the enfranchised one. You mean I'm the guy that has never once in his life seen a job listing encouraging me to apply? Yes, women and people of color strongly encouraged to apply. Okay, so pretty much everyone but me. I'll see another job that says EEOC compliant. Women, people of color, and LGBT strongly encouraged to apply. I'm like, that's everybody but me. Why don't you just throw in like non-Christians too and just narrow it down even more? How about people who are 6'3"? Don't apply. I mean, you're getting really specific here. And if you're so inclusive, how come all of them exclude me? But no. I'm not disenfranchised. I'm in the ruling elite. I'm in the white supremacy class. Is that what I'm in? Just run around with no colleges for me? We can have Texas women's colleges, right? We can have colleges that are exclusively for women without any complaints. We can have historically black colleges and universities that are celebrated. What about for me? No college for me? No professional guilds? You know what I mean? Like in my industry, we have like the National Association of Black Journalists. We have the Latin Grammys. We have Women in Media. We have the Gracie Awards, which is like the radio awards, but let's just exclude all the dudes and give our awards only to women. Do they have any men-only awards? No? Do they have any white-only awards? Do they have the white Miss America? I'm not saying that, I'm the victim here. But just don't come to me and act like I'm some sort of oppressive jerk that's disenfranchising you. Because the context that you're coming from my point of view, is absurd. And it's just some assumed victimhood that's always used as a bludgeon against me. I can flip around on the radio right now. And there's a radio format that's specifically for the LGBTQ. You can go on satellite radio. There's some that are specifically for Latin people, some specifically for black people. Is there a white station? And I'm not saying I want a white station. Just stop calling yourself disenfranchised. Stop calling yourself the underserved community. What service do I have? What service do I have access to that you don't? Because I can point at something that you have that I don't. So, Fort Worth getting rid of your DEI, yeah, that's a good thing. I can't believe it ever got passed. I can't believe 4 people are still in favor of it. The 4 people that wanted to continue that program, you know what you are? You're a racist, and you're a sexist, and you're whatever the word. We don't even have a word for when you're bigoted against white people or men or straight people, do we? Anyone ever bring that up before? Because you could be homophobic or even transphobic. But what happens if you have a DEI program like Fort Worth used to have that used to show hiring preferences to LGBT candidates? What's the word for that? Is heterophobic? Is that a thing? Have you ever heard that said before? Isn't it amazing the people that are so concerned about controlling language and its usage, you end up playing in the same coloring book that doesn't afford you the same tools? Think about it. There's Islamophobic. What happens if you discriminate against Christians? What's the word for that? Christophobic? Christianphobic? We don't know. It's never been said. It doesn't exist. So who's really disenfranchised here? The people that don't even have a word to describe when you crap on them? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, WNBA has a problem. It's with toys. Yes, that kind. I'll explain next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. Look, there's a couple of things that you're worried about with your roof. It's been on there a while. You notice a shingle missing. You've been through some hailstorms. You see some dents. It got hit by a tree branch. Whatever has you suspicious about your roof, I know a couple things you're worried about. You're worried about getting the wrong roofing company because it's someone that come in there, cost you all kinds of money, do a terrible job, and then they don't come fix it, or they try and charge you more for it, or they try and overcharge you. You're also worried about the pain in the butt, getting it scheduled. How long is this going to take? Are you going to leave my yard a mess? And then the third thing you're worried about is paying for it. Can you afford it? Is the insurance company going to cut you off at the knees? Listen, this is why it's so important to pick the right roofing company when it's time to take care of your most important possession, the home that you live in. Go to blueribbondfw.com, schedule your free inspection. I can back it up because I did it myself. I went to Blue Ribbon DFW. I got John Hopkins to get his butt up on my roof and check it out, take pictures, have a chat with me, explain to me everything that's going on, and talk about solutions. And I love hearing the stories about when people get shorted by their insurance company. It can be refiled. John knows what to do. John knows who to call. It's not the same person that you call. And he can get you the money that you deserve from the insurance company. Not because he's smarter or a genius or Elon Musk level. It's just he's been doing this for 31 years. He's good at it. So schedule your free inspection today and get the ball rolling. It'll just take about an hour or so of your time. And you'll be glad you went to blueribbondfw.com. So go to blueribbondfw.com. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Pretty happy about the news that Fort Worth is ending its DEI programs. And it's not that they even did this voluntarily. It was a 7-4 vote by the city council. And for some of the people, I didn't get everyone's opinion on this, but for some of the people that voted to end their DEI programs, their excuse was, well, we'll lose federal funding. Yeah, we can't afford to lose federal funding. Excuse me? $277 million in federal funds is what it takes for you to take a stand against racism? No, we would discriminate against white people or men or straight people or whatever, except it costs us a bunch of money here. Other than that, discriminating against someone based on their skin tone is okay with me. The hell kind of backward world are we living in? Look, if racism is bad, then racism is bad. Racism is bad for everyone. If discrimination is bad, racial discrimination is bad. It's bad for everyone, which means DEI is bad. And people are going to come in and they might call 800-288-9227 and be like, that's not what DEI means. It doesn't mean discrimination against whites. It just means, and then they'll come up with some straw man that it doesn't mean. Because when it's put into place, we all know what it means. Discrimination. And it's always against me, I guess. And I'm not even a narcissist. It just happened to be in the worst, scariest demographic, even worse than a bear. Mark and Anna, you're on WBAP. What's up, Mark?
Hey, I was just going to let you know, this is not new. I was DEI'd before it was called DEI. I had tested with one of the big three insurance companies to open an agency, scored very well, and passed their test, and then they said, we can't go any further with you because you're the wrong color and you're the wrong sex. And I just sat there. I was shocked.
Did they tell you that to your face?
To my face, they
Wow.
told me that. This was in the early 90s, and I just sat there, and then I thought, well, okay, so if I go to court, how am I going to win this one? But the guy just boldly, it was a face-to-face interview, said that to me.
Okay.
And
how'd that make you feel, Mark?
Oh, I was just like, well, what if I had checked Hispanic and not white? I mean, so that was a career opportunity. Never know if I would have been successful because I wasn't given the shot.
Well, and that's the exact same thing that Elizabeth Warren took advantage of. That is something you see people take advantage of. Oh, yeah, I'm an Indian. I sure am not what? A white person? Well, if we're the supreme oppressive class, why wouldn't you want to be a part of us? Why would you think? Right. Why wouldn't you use that to your advantage? Why do we keep getting turned down for jobs? Mark, in your entire life, have you seen whites or men strongly encouraged to apply?
No, never.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
In fact,
have you ever seen women and people of color strongly encouraged to apply?
Yep.
Yeah.
Several times.
That's so weird.
Several times.
Because they're supposed to be disenfranchised, and we're supposed to be the ones that, have the system rigged in our favor. But I don't know. It certainly doesn't feel like it, Mark.
No, I can personally attest to that.
All right. Well, sorry about your story, but thanks for sharing it. I bet you a lot of other people went through the same thing. This is Neil. Neil and Irving, you're on WBAP. What's up?
Thanks, James. I sort of had to chuckle a little bit sardonically at what happened to Mark, I think his name was. Went through a similar situation in 2014. My oldest, I have two adopted Indonesian children.
What?
And I'm white. And
wait, how did this happen?
My
it's not a trick question.
I know. My son was getting ready to go to university and was looking for scholarships, and he and I were both working at the kitchen table, and he looked up at me and he says, "Dad, it sucks to be you," meaning a white male. No scholarships for a white male at that time in 2014. He even got a scholarship for an adopted Asian. I kid you not.
They've got it all the way down. They had some, I forgot what it was. I think it might have been some broadcasters thing where it was an award group for something for people of color, and you're like, people of color, so it's everyone but white people, and then you're like, okay, well, let me see what their definition is for people of color, because maybe I would like to get in on this award show. and it was for Black, Hispanic. They just went through. They've said South Asian, Asian Pacific Islander. They just listed everybody but white people, and it's like, are y'all comfortable typing this? Like, everyone's okay with this? Everyone's just like, yeah, we have an award show that's for everybody as long as you're not white. And it just shocks me how many people are like, yeah, that's fine. What's wrong with that? Yeah, no big deal. All right. Well, thank you. I guess I exhausted Neil and Irving. Very good. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Goodbye, Fort Worth's DEI policy. You won't be missed. You shouldn't have even existed anyway. Your existence has always been just overt racism. It's a benevolent form of racism. You know what I mean by that? Benevolent racism, where you think you're doing this to because you think you're helping some people, and you think you're helping some people that deserve to be helped, that are victims, and that are at a disadvantage here. I get it. It comes from a good place. It's benevolent racism, and that's better than the racism Democrats used to do when they were doing Jim Crow and segregation and making you sit in the back of the bus and poop in a different stall and all that other weird water fountain stuff. This is progress for our Democrat friends. Their racism has become a little more benevolent, but it still needs to all go away. And it still just blows my mind how many people seem to be okay with it. In fact, they'll speak out in favor of it. 4 city councilmen just voted for it, and there were a few more that were like, well, I support this, but not if it's going to cost us a bunch of federal money, which is weird because, yeah, hey, your rights are important unless there's money involved. Is that the message they're sending? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. We'll continue with Fort Worth DEI callers next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You know, like so many things that government does, I think this whole DEI garbage has backfired. I think, you know, if the intention was to bring us together, it certainly didn't do that. And just like when you create the Department of Education because, you know, you want to make scores higher and costs lower, the exact opposite happened since the Department of Education came around. Scores have gone down and the costs have become even more unaffordable. The FDA was sold to you as the regulatory body that would keep food companies from lying to you, is now the vehicle by which they lie to you. And DEA and all these civil rights retread, focus, digging through your belly button. This isn't supposed to bring us together. This is tearing us apart. How are we supposed to come together if you're walking around downtown Dallas and every 2 or 3 blocks there's some sort of memoriam or plaque or historical marker or mural or statue or something reminding you of something evil and racist a white person did 100 or 150 years ago? If you want to bring us together in DEI, seems pretty self-evident. You are giving people a reason to distrust other people based solely on the color of their skin. As long as these programs exist, we will never get rid of racism. That's why I'm so glad Fort Worth got rid of it. Christine in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Hi there. Hey, I just wanted to share a couple things. I'm a white female, and throughout my life, because I've been a white female.
Are you white, or would you call yourself Anglo?
Anglo.
Sorry.
Anglo.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm trying to get that to catch on. Sorry.
Okay, whatever. I'm a girl that lives in this world, and you know, I'm no better or no worse than everybody else, and I think we all should be treated the same. And you know, as far as color, what does that matter? You know, we could have any colors of anything. But what I want to say is it never ended. I mean, I had lost benefits of being able to get grants and things for school when I was young. So I had to struggle along and do the things I had to do to get there. Never had a hand up, did it myself. Came to when my kids needed help, they didn't get it either. And because of the color of our skin, and it just was not fair. The most recent for me was back in 2009. We had warn letters go out in a certain airline, and I got riffed because I was a female of a certain age.
Is this riff like laid off, reduction in force?
Laid off, yes.
Yeah, that's what they call it in the radio world now, too. No, you didn't get fired or laid off. You got riffed.
Anglos. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Christine, I am so old that when I went to college, you could sign up for all the financial aid on the website, but that was still kind of a new thing. So you could still go into the administrative office and get this giant binder with these papers that are in the plastic sleeves. And so I went on the website and I just kind of jokingly looked around, and like there were no scholarships that were aimed at me. And I noticed, just like the previous caller, that they had them for women. They had it for every color under the sun but me. They had it for every nationality under the sun but me. They had it,
Exactly.
for like Native Americans even, or they had it for foreigner students only. And I thought, well, you know, that doesn't seem very fair or even. But then as you know, it didn't really bother me that bad at the time. But as I went through the real world and I keep getting told that other people are disenfranchised and I have some unfair advantage, it's like, oh, hell no. Now you're not going to disenfranchise me and then tell me that I'm disenfranchising you. I can't continue this conversation if that's going to be the context of the talk here. And so I'm just shocked it took this long for this DEI stuff to go away as it is, Christine.
Well, I think it's going to take a long time because they're really holding on. And honestly, I just couldn't step into that realm to say, okay, because I'm a girl, I'm going to be able to take that from you. So those were things I backed away from, even though they were there for me. I just felt like I just was no better than everybody else. And I didn't think that I deserved to have that because of who I was.
Well, and for the people of color and women and people who do benefit from DEI, I don't want this to go away to hurt you. I don't want this to go away because I'm jealous or there's some sort of envy there. There's just an inherent injustice. And I hope to God that if I wasn't me, that if I was a female person of color or a lesbian with the club foot or whatever the grievance is, that I would hold the same position. I hope that I wouldn't be affected by my bias and how the programs like that could help. But all of these programs should be gone. And I just think you are seriously, and I don't mean this as a hyperbole, you're supporting racism and you're supporting sexism when you support these DEI programs. Period, point blank in the story. It may be against a demographic you dislike or thinks they deserve it, but that just explains why you support racism. Not that you're not a racist. It just, that's your justification for supporting a pretty evil ideology, historically speaking. All right, I'm going to leave you with a piece of advice from a homeless guy.
Hello, I'm here to remind you that the only thing keeping you from achieving all your dreams and having all of the things that you've ever wanted is probably money. That's it, just lots of money. So if you could just get lots of money, you could probably have all that stuff that you wanted. Okay, just go get a bunch of money somewhere. Okay, think about that for a while. Have a super freaking awesome day and stuff. Or you could just decide to be happy anyway and don't need all that stuff, and then the money's not all that important, but you know. Otherwise, okay, bye.
All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin is coming up next. If you need some more James Show action in the meantime, it's 21 hours before the show comes back on, but you can fill some of that void in your soul with some James goodness on social media. I've got a bunch of videos on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I do a lot of work putting all this stuff up. Somebody better go see it. But one of the big ones is the podcast. Don't just find the podcast, subscribe to it and actually listen to it. And if you hear something in the commercials, just buy tons of it. Just spend all your money on everything that's in the commercials for during the James Show on the air or the podcast or the website, or I prefer WBAP.com and the WBAP app. That's going to do it for the James Show. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Anglos.